Hey, buddy.
Hi, guys. Well, from rainy, drizzly, wet Salt Lake City,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up today, Dan, we're going to talk about a tragedy, an international tragedy.
The burning of a building.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Notre Dame,
Yeah.
the cathedral. Paris is burning. That's all there is to it. Paris is burning.
Yeah. Really, really
Well, they put it out by now.
shocking and sad and everything. So we do want to talk about that because obviously there are,
There are
things
implications
of interest, I think, for this show
Well, yeah.
to discuss. So anyway, coming up first, though, Dan,
Yeah.
there is a new pamphlet out
Oh?
that is available in Sweden,
Oh.
the land of pamphlets.
Really? Boy, you just can't get away from them. It's food in tubes and pamphlets everywhere as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, absolutely. And cheap furniture as well.
And water. Lots of
water?
lots of archipelagos and whatnot.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No, the Church of Sweden.
Yes, okay. Be weird if it was the Church of England, but that's okay.
Yeah, Church of Sweden has, or at least one of the dioceses has issued this pamphlet. It is now available to Christian queer kids.
Oh.
It's a guide on LGBTQ topics in Christianity.
Okay, so generally speaking, in the larger scheme, when a Christian organization releases a pamphlet about LGBTQ, I brace for the worst.
You should brace for the best.
I was going to say, this is Sweden, though. It's a different animal. Talk to me.
This, if you were, maybe one of those more sort of run-of-the-mill American Christian types.
Yeah.
You might be a little stunned by this. You might be shocked, in fact, to hear that the guide describes Jesus as queer.
What?
And Joseph as transvestite.
What?
That one's a stretch.
That one,
I actually take issue, Church of Sweden. you don't want to just make stuff up whole cloth.
Yeah, you're going.
I mean, the whole thing.
What did they base that on?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest.
He liked his robes a little more flowing than the next man.
Kind of, I think. So the guide says that that Scripture is not actually against homosexualdy. But the Bible doesn't really say anything. It never mentions it by name. They say,
okay,
and that when it does when it is on the topic of homosexuality, what it's actually talking about, the stories that they're mentioning are actually about exploitation or rape.
Huh.
And
that seems like a stretch to me too. I mean, I've read the Leviticus where it says if a man lay with a man. That doesn't sound like rape. If a man lay with a man the way man lays with woman or something along those lines. So maybe it is. Maybe all sex with women was rape back in the day.
Probably.
And now and they're just saying, "Hey, you can't do that to a real person like a man."
Yeah, right.
That's
the problem.
Yeah.
The guide includes definitions for cis person, gender fluid, non-binary, queer, two-sex norm, rainbow fairs. I don't know what a rainbow fair is. But it says that Jesus' mother, Mary, dared to break traditional sex norms in a patriarchal society.
By having sex with God?
Yeah. I guess being a virgin mother.
Yeah,
that broke some.
I mean, is it daring or is it
traditional sex norms?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
She had a kid without involving a man.
Well,
That's
pretty queer.
She's rejecting the patriarchy.
She is.
By doing that.
Right. Or just accepting the grandest of patriarchy.
Jesus is described as someone who, quote, broke the norm, calling him queer for the way he lived his life. This is actually really, I like this. They also point out that he did not defend the traditional family.
Yeah.
And that is true.
Yeah.
He actually says to leave your family and to come follow him.
Yeah, he does. 100% he says that. He says some other stuff about man and wife and stuff. But yeah, the fact that we don't have any evidence of him having married.
Exactly.
And we do have lots of evidence of him hanging out with a lot of mans.
He liked the man company.
All the time.
Well, I bring this all up. I was able to read a translated version of this whole story from Sweden.
You didn't learn Swedish to read it in its original.
My last name is not Buttigieg.
Okay.
That's anyway. You'll get that in a few months, everyone. If you don't do it right now.
Are you kidding me? It's all.
I know it's all over the place. But anyway, no. So I read a translated Swedish article.
Sure.
That was just on sort of a newspaper and took more of a neutral stance. This was actually from a Christian website.
Oh,
where I found it.
Are they decrying it?
Oh my God, they absolutely hate it. They say things like, "No, this isn't just some radical college course about the Bible. This is coming from the actual Church of Sweden."
How dare they?
And they say things like, "The guide goes on to contradict Scripture." The guide also includes definitions for leftist sexual terms. So I was kind of skimming it.
That's amazing.
Not including that aspect of it. But I did go back and verify this, internet translated article to make sure that the details were more or less correct. So.
It is a lot of fun if you can find. So here's a fun game for you listeners at home. You can. This is a home game, the TGIA home game.
Oh, play along with us.
Which is if you like any of the stories that we talk about, see if you can find where Christian websites or Christian news outlets are talking about the same stories.
Yeah,
and listen to how they talk about it, or watch how they talk about it. That's fun. They're outraged by everything.
They're always outraged.
Yeah,
it's like they're neutral. Just standard.
Yes, it's just where they live. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take us to the Vatican. I will have in this show a tale of two popes.
Okay,
and we'll see the contrast. It's a very interesting contrast.
One Vatican, two popes.
Yeah, that's right. Uh-oh. And boy, do they eat the poop. I don't. I've never seen that video. Anyway. Here we go. Pope Francis this time, who has decided that he has figured out a unique way to create peace in the world.
Oh, okay.
Now, here's what's funny. I'll get to that. I'll get to where my brain went with this thing. He met with around this time of year every year. He usually meets up with a bunch of prisoners and washes their feet or whatever for Holy Thursday or whatever. It's a thing that he does. To sort of be Christ-like, Jesus washed the feet of the people, and then they washed his feet. It was a sign of humility or whatever.
There's a Holy Thursday?
Yeah, I guess so.
Huh.
I mean, why not?
He is the Pope.
They got holy every other day.
Yeah.
So this year, instead of that, he actually met with the leaders, both the official leader and opposition leaders of South Sudan. Now, South Sudan, for those who don't know, is a fairly recent country. It was only created a few years back and has been ever since engaged in I guess they won their independence from Sudan in 2011.
Okay.
Because most of South Sudan is one ethnic majority and most of Sudan is another, and they were just at war all the time, so they broke off. Yeah. Well, it turns out that there was enough, split within South Sudan that they've basically been civil war in their own country.
So now there's going to be Southeast Sudan,
right? Exactly.
Southwest Sudan,
right? Yeah, exactly. So it's been They broke off from Sudan in 2011, and in 2013 they've been in a really bloody war.
Yeah.
At least 400,000 people are dead.
Jesus Christ.
From this thing.
Oh my God.
It's not a big country. Anyway, a very tentative peace process has started, and it's not going great. They had they signed an armistice. They have a ceasefire, but people still keep dying. People still they're missing deadlines and all this stuff. It's not going great.
Yeah.
It's still holding on by a thread, but So the Pope met with these guys and decided to kneel and kiss their feet, the feet of both the rival leaders of South Sudan.
Wow. Did they know this was going to happen?
I don't think so. They knew that they were meeting with the Pope.
My God.
And he knelt down and he said, quote, "I express my heartfelt hope that hostilities will finally cease, that the armistice will be respected, that political and ethnic divisions will be surmounted, and that there will be a lasting peace for the common good of all those citizens who dream of beginning to build the nation." Now, so my first response to this when I read it was, well, that's going to make a difference. You've got, oh, good, some random white guy that neither of these political leaders actually cares about kissed their feet. Uh-huh. Well, that'll totally change the world. But then I realized what he's dealing with is just two guys.
Yeah.
Just a couple of emotional human beings. And you never know. Literally, that gesture could be baffling enough to, make a difference. I don't know. I literally have no idea, whether this is a worthless, stupid thing for the Pope to do. It can't hurt. What is he?
It might get their attention.
I mean, yeah.
In some sort of way that nobody else has been able to get their attention. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. One of the vice presidents of South Sudan, whose name is Rebecca Nyadeng Garang, said, "I have never seen anything like that. Tears were flowing down my eyes." She said she was very, very moved by the whole thing.
I bet it was moving. I bet it was shocking. I bet it caught people off guard.
Yeah.
Pope Francis.
I mean, so I like the idea of a world leader, someone who is a very important person in the world.
Yeah.
Literally just humbling himself and just saying, look, the peace is more important than any of us.
Right.
It's more important than my dignity.
Right.
Or whatever. What's the most important?
Oh, he gets off on this shit.
Oh, of course he does. But he's doing something he's making a show. He's making a point.
Right.
And he's using it at least for a good idea. Peace in South Sudan would be great. I mean, Sudan they just overthrew their government.
Right. But seriously, I mean, at this point, I'd like to find somebody in the entire Italian peninsula whose feet he hasn't washed or kissed or done something to.
This is an African. It's totally different. He's moved out from Italy. Oh, you jerk.
All right.
I'm just imagining some tourist walking around the Vatican City looking down at their feet going, ew. Oh, I shouldn't have worn sandals. Hey, is the Pope available? Look at the dirty Tootsies. They're dirty. I need them cleaned.
Yeah. Pucker up. Popey. All right.
And the title of this week's episode.
Pucker up, Popey. All right. I can make that happen. Okay, Dan.
Yeah.
How long ago did we talk about India's Supreme Court lifting the ban on the entry of women of menstrual age at that Hindu temple? That was what? A couple months ago? A few months ago? 6 months ago?
6 months ago, something like that?
Okay.
Sure,
yeah.
Maybe.
So that happened.
I don't have a concept of time.
Yeah.
That's close enough.
Fair enough. Anyway, so that happened.
Yeah.
And that kind of opened up a little bit of an issue in India.
Yeah, it did.
Obviously, there were conservative Hindus who did not like that at all.
A lot of people were not happy with it.
But there were maybe some more moderate or liberal Muslims who were watching the whole thing. Like, what's her name? Yasmin Pirzadeh.
Nailed it.
And her husband, Zuber Pirzadeh. Mm-hmm. They're suing. They have a petition, I guess. It may not be I don't know these legal terms. But they're petitioning the India Supreme Court to decide on the issue about women being allowed to worship inside mosques alongside men. And because there's this practice in Islam that women, and there are a lot of mosques in India that don't allow women at all.
Right.
And then there's some of them that will have like a partitioned off area,
right,
or some section somewhere where they're able to go.
My understanding is that
mix.
All mosques are non-mixed. Like if women pray in a mosque, they pray in a different part of the mosque than the men.
Yes, I think that they at least have men over here, women over there.
Yes.
I think that's probably the most mixed that it gets.
Yeah.
I don't know that to be true. But definitely there are mosques where it's more partitioned.
Right.
When I visited the mosque here in Salt Lake, it was actually sort of a balcony area.
That the ladies were on?
That the ladies are up on.
Okay.
They have to go upstairs. And there were like video cameras that had a feed of the imam.
Oh.
So that they could watch him on a feed rather than
that's
all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So these guys are suing to allow women
to be mixed in.
Oh wow.
And because this is where it gets really interesting. Their petition says, like men, women also have the constitutional right to offer worship according to their belief.
Huh.
Right? There should not be any gender discrimination, and we should allow women to pray in all mosques.
Wow, that's the Indian Supreme Court has shown themselves of late to be quite willing, to dip their fingers into what's happening in the religion.
Well, there must be some mixture.
They must love riots.
That we just don't,
because they're gonna get them. If they go through with that, they're going to get themselves some more riots.
They are going to, yeah. Islam is not one to take things sitting down.
But here's the thing. In India, like in Hinduism, the government owns the temples.
Right.
Or like at least there's no organization that owns the temples that can sort of make the rules.
Right.
I don't know that that's true for the mosques, except there are some historic mosques that I'll bet the government does own. I have no
idea.
I went to one in Delhi, which I can't imagine is owned by paid for by anybody but India, because it's like a national landmark.
Right. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
But what I am really interested in here is this willingness on sort of the highest levels of government to make decisions about how people practice faith in their nation.
Yeah.
I there's something about that.
It's interesting.
That as long as their laws also allow space for me, right?
Right.
I kind of like the idea of, because what it's saying is the state is more important and the people are more important than these religions.
Right.
And we tend to in this country have this opinion that the religions are more important.
Right.
And I think it's probably a much healthier view, to be honest, to have a power, ostensibly secular power that is more important in your system than now. That's obviously something you got to be careful about, right. But at the same time, there's something to me, the atheist, that is kind of appealing about that. As long as I know that I'm protected too.
It just feels dangerous to me. It just feels like
I know I know.
I mean, so there is a line to walk.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to watch different countries walk the line differently.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going back to the Vatican for Pope Pope story number 2.
Oh, okay.
This time, Pope Benedict. Pope Emeritus.
He's
Benedict.
still alive.
Still alive. We still have 2 popes. It is a 2 pope problem. And that's the thing, is that, like, he didn't stop being a pope.
I know.
He just retired from, like, popely duties. And nobody really knows what it means. Like, if he promised he would just step out of the next pope's way and not be a burden or not be a bother to anybody.
Right.
And he's been basically silent for the bulk of the time since he stepped down.
Just enjoying those Prada slippers.
Yes, indeed. Now he has spoken up, and what he wrote was immediately criticized as, and this is the RNS. I don't know who they were quoting, but they put it in quotes: catastrophically irresponsible.
Wow. Oh no! What did he say?
Okay, so he decided that he needed to talk about the priest sex abuse crisis.
Oh no!
Because he knows why it has happened.
Oh God!
He has a really good sense of why there have been all these problems.
Brace yourself.
Basically, what happened was that the 60s occurred.
Oh, those damn 60s.
The sexual revolution happened. The sex started showing up in the movies.
Goddamn baby boomers.
And suddenly all of the seminaries were thrown into, they had homosexual cliques in the seminaries, which of course have never happened before.
No.
Before the 60s, everything was on the up and up. Matter of fact, none of the priests that were ordained before the 60s ever did any of the pedophiling.
Right.
Don't worry. Which is obviously not true.
Oh, my God.
But yes, it was the homosexual cliques which acted more or less openly and significantly changed the climate, he said.
Oh, my God.
I feel like he really tips his hand, though, a little later in the paper when he says this.
Okay.
Perhaps it is worth mentioning that in not a few seminaries, students caught reading my books were considered unsuitable for the priesthood. My books were hidden away like bad literature and only read under the desk.
Oh.
Which, A,
poor little Ratsy.
surely isn't true. And B, he's like makes the whole thing just sour grapes.
Oh, poor Ratzinger.
They're not doing my kind of priesting. That's why. If they would just go hard right on everything, a nice Germanic hard right on everything, we would all be better off, and no priest would ever rape a kid again.
Wow, there's so catastrophically irresponsible.
Yeah.
How was it described?
That is exactly
Wow.
it.
Well, you know what? He had his chance. He could have
Well, I'll tell you this.
had all the reform he wanted, and he could have made everybody read as much of his books as he wanted.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it's true. Here's the thing. He did work hard. Well, he worked. Here's what he did. He put in a lot of effort to stop priest molestation, but his whole effort was just defrock the priests who did it. So he defrocked a whole lot of priests. He basically fired a whole bunch of priests.
Right.
Does that mean he did anything systemically? No, he didn't.
Right.
He didn't look at it as a systemic problem at all. He looked at it as an individual problem.
Right.
But now he's looked at it as a systemic problem, and the problem is they're just not reading his books enough. Also, there are some sexy movies out, so it's it's so hard.
Yeah.
To be him.
Poor guy.
He has so many ideas, and he promised to keep his mouth shut. He just couldn't. He just couldn't.
Well, when his ideas are that good,
when he knows so well,
he's got it. Yeah.
He's got his finger on the pulse. His bony, disgusting finger. Actually, he's the fleshier of the two.
Is he?
Yeah. He still looks like the Emperor from Star Wars. He's a creepy looking dude.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Dan, students at Taylor University. Are you familiar with Taylor University?
I don't know it.
It's a small evangelical Christian school in Indiana.
I'm glad I don't know it.
Yeah. About 3,000 students at any given time.
Sure.
And they're just outside of Indianapolis.
Okay.
So now you have a picture.
Got it.
Right? They
Midwest, the heartland.
Yeah. They somehow were able to get Vice President Pence to agree to come and do their commencement speech.
An Indiana native himself.
Yeah, right? Just seems fitting and Christian.
And outspokenly Christian, yes.
Yeah. Seems perfect. Seems exactly what a Christian university would want.
Yep.
So forth and so on. Well, they have gathered, remember, 3,000 students.
Yeah.
3,700 signatures.
Okay.
Asking Taylor University to rescind Pence's invitation.
Why?
Saying, inviting Vice President Pence to Taylor University and giving him a coveted platform for his political views makes our alumni, faculty, staff, and current students complicit in the Trump-Pence administration's policies, which we believe are not consistent with the Christian ethic of love we hold dear.
Wow.
And of course, Pence has, he's, like you say, he's clearly on record about his Christian values.
Yes, indeed. Christian values, which include never aborting a baby.
Right.
And this is what Jesus talked about.
Right.
Locking up immigrants.
Yes.
And hating on gays. That's what Jesus was all about. Those three things.
Right.
Are the only things Jesus cared about.
Absolutely.
So what are they complaining about? They're Christian too. It's perfect.
Well, they're saying that's not, I mean, they're not saying specifically that those are the things that they're not about, but they know that especially this current administration, doesn't really embrace Christian values very well.
Goodness.
Even though the Christian right seems to fucking love them.
Yeah.
Here's some evangelicals in large numbers, at least a large percentage of their community saying,
Yeah.
Let's see. Was there anything else in here? Well, I mean, this does, Pence did give the commencement speech in 2017 at Notre Dame. Do you remember this? I don't really remember this. A bunch of students walked out during the speech.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that, sure.
Good on them.
Yeah, there you go. I feel like there's a crisis in this country. Christians don't even know what they believe. Although I recently read an article that just said that religions in this country have all basically moved further right. On the political spectrum.
There's another crisis, Dan.
Uh-oh.
Which is that universities are having a hard time booking speakers without having people get onto change.org.
Right.
File a petition to, no, I don't like that person.
Right, yeah. Everybody feels like they have a right to their person speaking.
Right. Do you know who spoke at my fucking commencement?
No, who did?
Oh, it was the George W. Bush era.
Yeah.
And it was his Secretary of Defense.
Oh.
Not defense. It was good. It was a get.
He was a cabinet member.
He was a cabinet member.
Okay.
And I remember just being mortified. But I went and I listened and he said nice things.
Yeah, that's what they do. They generally tend to just say some nice things.
Yeah.
They don't politicize it. They don't get their jabs in.
Right.
Because that would be a dick thing to do.
Right.
They talk about the world and what, and you guys are the light and the hope of our country, and we hope that you do well, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. All right. Well, I'm going to take us to Missouri, this fine state of Missouri, where a bill has just passed their House, and now it goes on to their Senate. Now, you probably won't be surprised to learn that both the House and Senate of Missouri are dominated by Republicans.
Oh.
Yes, I said you won't be surprised by that. And so this is a bill that apparently takes aim directly at atheists in Missouri, because all it does is change the law so that atheists, if they want to bring a church-state separation lawsuit, have to do, if they're adults, they have to use their real names.
Oh, God.
Now, this is an issue because normally in a state, a judge can determine whether or not a plaintiff can use a pseudonym,
Right.
because their life or their safety
Right.
could be in jeopardy.
Right.
And let me tell you something. Just because they got the name Christian doesn't mean that they will not attack your house, attack your family, and attack you if they think you're trying to attack Christianity. I will defend my Lord by blowing up your house because you don't like this cross on state property or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where it's like a known fact that people get harassed, they get they get attacked if they bring one of these lawsuits.
Huh.
Well, this Missouri State Rep Hardy Billington, sounds fake, has introduced this bill. It's passed the House.
Yeah.
It will change the law so that at least kids won't. But if it's an adult plaintiff, they must use their real name. Just so, I mean, there's, as Hemant Mehta on his site points out, there's no benefit to the public.
No.
For this law. This doesn't help anybody.
Well, no. It does help me. It helps me know whose house I'm burning down.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's just a doxing law.
Yeah.
It's just a law for doxing people that they don't like.
Yeah, absolutely.
To encourage the worst of the Christians to do what they do.
Yeah. Continue to be scary so that these people are intimidated and they won't bring the lawsuit and we get to keep our thing on public property.
Right.
That is the train of thought.
That is exactly it. Let's intimidate them out of doing the thing that
complaining about things
that annoys us.
Yeah. Shut up. Stop complaining. We were here first.
Yeah. Shut your fucking mouth. It's a Christian country and a Christian state.
Right. And we're going to prove it to you because we're going to act like a bunch of Christians.
Right. We're
going to pass this law. As dicks to you.
As Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount, "Blessed be the bullies, for theirs shall be the public spaces."
Yeah.
Anyway, so, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to write to us and tell us about the bullies, the Christian bullies on your block, feel free to do so. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yep. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click on that like button.
And while on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group, but we will let you in.
Indeed.
Hey, Dan.
Yes, sir.
Mark Taylor.
Oh, the firefighting, the no longer firefighting prophet,
the mad prophet of the internet,
the global conspiracist and profiteer of profiting.
Oh, indeed. Yeah, he's got something to say about abortion.
He is.
Oh boy.
He knows what's coming, you guys. This is part of what being a prophet is all about, is that you know what's coming. You don't just know what's now.
No.
You know what's going to be happening soon, and he knows.
Well, he talks to God, and God talks to him.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street. It's not.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody can just talk to God.
I talk to God all the time.
Do you?
I mean, no.
No, you don't. Liar.
All right, let's listen.
When you're talking about control and the abortion issue that go hand in hand, it's also the population control. This is about controlling the population because on the Georgia Guidestones, they only want 500 million people on the planet. And it's all written right there on the Georgia Guidestones. My friend Sheila Holm is the one that exposes a lot of this stuff with the Georgia Guidestones. Her and Chris McDonald actually physically went there. She's been there numerous times, done shows on it or stories on it. She's written it in her books plenty of times. All that information is in her books. So, I mean, but when you look at the population control, and I'll tell you what else is probably going to be exposed, and I'll release it here for the first time. I haven't even said this publicly, I don't believe, is that look for these guys, the extreme left, the extreme globalists, that when a woman gets pregnant, their goal would be to take the woman and the child.
Wow. So
because you're actually getting, and I hate to use this phrase, but you know, I just, you got to call it like you see it, but it's like taking two birds in one shot almost. Because when they look for that somewhere in the world that these elites go, you know what, when you get pregnant at this point, we're going to take the mother and the child.
He is a smart man.
He gets it.
Yeah.
He really gets it.
He can read the writing on the wall.
Other people don't get it like he gets it.
Yeah.
It's so funny because, this clip sent me down a rabbit hole.
Oh, really?
Well, I've never heard of Georgia Guidestones. I had no idea what the fuck he was on about. And let me tell you something. You know, it's so weird, the crossover between bizarre conspiracy theorists and Christianity.
Yeah.
And they're all tied in. The flat earth movement is all tied into Christianity. And they all tie to and it doesn't matter what the conspiracy is. If you're a 9/11 truther, somehow you then also become a flat earther, and you also become and it's all because of Jesus somehow, but it's also because of the Illuminati, and it's all interwoven.
Right.
These Georgia Guidestones, though, are pretty interesting. They're just out in a field in Georgia.
Okay.
In the United State of Georgia. Not the country of Georgia. And they are these giant, like 20-foot tall stone, like granite rock. It's a very large thing. That apparently the story is that some guy calling himself Robert C. Christian, which is obviously
what a beautiful name,
pseudonym, approached a granite finishing company and was like, "Hey, I want to build this giant thing."
Okay.
And they were like, they thought he was just a nut, so they quoted him some outrageous sum, and he was just like, "Great, let's start on Tuesday." He was fine with it, and claimed apparently that it was he represented a group of, quote, loyal Americans, and they commissioned this whole big thing, and it's these 4 giant tablets of stone standing tall with a pillar in the middle and a capstone on top, and you can see through them, and apparently they line up with like with astronomic features. There's a channel that indicates the celestial pole and slots that indicate the annual travel of the sun, and all of these things that line up with the...
He just didn't want something simple, some statement.
No.
This thing has like cosmic significance.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, no.
The sunbeam that comes through the capstone apparently marks noontime throughout the year.
Unbelievable.
They had to line it all up and get the angles right and everything.
They had to pull out a sextant, probably.
And a yard arm. No, I don't know. I don't know.
Who?
I don't know. But it does have this list in multiple languages of 10 guideposts, whatever.
Please tell me there's like one language on there that nobody knows what it is.
No. There should be.
There should be.
It's English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, traditional Chinese, and Russian.
Wow.
I don't know. Why Spanish?
I don't know. They should have put Esperanto on.
Yeah.
That would have been good.
Anyway, or Latin. I don't know.
Klingon. They should have done it in Klingon.
Dothraki. Anyway, it's apparently so the guidelines, these rules do start with maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Now, how they decided that is the correct number to be in balance with nature, I don't know.
That's really weird.
I do think that our population's getting a little on the scary side. I think that we're doubling our population at an alarming rate now every, few years.
We're good at fucking.
We are. We also demand a lot of resources for each of us. So
pish posh.
Yeah.
Pish posh.
I mean,
man.
I'm down with
we're clever little monkeys.
Reducing population growth, but I don't know how they came up. They don't list why it's 500 million. They just say that's the right number.
Well, and how would you ever sustain the economy? The economy would collapse.
Fucking hate that line so much. It has to be growth, otherwise everything collapses. Okay, why?
Because, Dan. Because it does.
Dan. It just does, asshole. Someone's going to write in and explain
a very,
it all.
very in-depth explanation.
Yes, that's fine. And then their second thing is guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity.
Eugenics!
It's eugenics. I mean, it's not
Who are these
strict
people?
eugenics, but yeah.
That sounds like you could easily line that up with eugenics, and nobody would know the difference.
Right. And this was in 1979 or 80 that this was erected.
Oh,
so.
you're kidding? Oh, it's been there for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Anyway.
Okay.
And then there's a bunch that I really like.
Okay.
Guideline number 4 is rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason.
All right.
I like that one.
Okay.
There's some goofball ones. Unite humanity with a living new language.
Oh.
I have seen so many dingbats decide that a new language is what will bring peace to the world. There. It's not. You're not going to unite humanity with a language.
No.
First of all, as the second you decide you come up with a new language, it starts splintering.
Yeah.
Into dialects, into different ways that different people speak it.
Yeah.
There was a brilliant, was it This American Life? Was it Radiolab? One of those, about a dude who came up with like a written language that could be universal.
Oh, nice.
That's not tied into language, but is just
pictures.
Sort of pictorial.
Yeah.
And it's not just pictures, but it's something that we could all learn fairly easily and then communicate with each other because it's not tied to words.
Right.
That to me is brilliant. That was not his idea, though. His idea was that everyone has to learn it exactly as he wrote it, and then it will like cause peace on Earth or whatever. No, you're not going to cause peace, you dipshit, but you came up with a decent idea. Like, to me, a written language that we can use to communicate with anybody else, regardless of what their spoken language is,
right.
That's genius.
Right.
That would be great. Teach that in every school in the world, and we're okay. We've got something to go on.
Right.
No. Anyway.
Wow, that really got you going, Dan.
I do wish that they would do that. That's a great idea. But people coming up with the guy the people who invented Esperanto,
yeah,
they thought it would bring about world peace or whatever. Just shut your hippie fucking mouth. You're not going to create world peace because we all are linguistically aligned.
Yeah, and my main beef with whatever language it ended up being is the American South would figure out how to like make it sound stupid.
I speak Esperanto. Like Peggy Hill and her Spanish. Did you ever watch King of the Hill?
I love that show.
Yo hablo español. Oh my God. Here's the thing. If you're a small group of loyal Americans and you decide you want to come up with 10 guidelines to guide humanity into glory, into reason, and into perfection, into a more perfected humanity.
Right.
I think some of these are good. Some of them are so dopey, though. It's just like, why that? Well, did they have a meeting and like one person was just like insisting that was what was going to do it, and everybody else was just like, okay, We'll leave that one in. Maybe we'll get it out later. I don't know. And it made it onto the rocks.
But they only had space for 10. And they let it be one of the 10.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, yeah, when it says things like balance personal rights with social duties, okay. Does it need to be written? Maybe. I don't know, but it's a good one. Like, I believe in that, I guess. They don't give any guidelines as to how that's achieved or accomplished, but okay.
Huh.
Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court.
Wow.
What the fuck are you on about? Why are you delving into world politics?
Dan, I gotta say, I get the conspiracy theorists on this one.
Right?
Like, I totally do. Like, what the fuck is this thing?
Exactly.
Like, it feels like maybe some space aliens came down.
Uh-huh.
And they were like, once you figure this out, then we will show ourselves to you.
Right, exactly.
Without ever saying that, you know.
Yeah. Protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. Well, doy.
I'm telling you.
Did you come up with that one all by yourself there, Bingo? Because that is a relatively obvious concept. Oh, my God. So anyway, yeah, the conspiracy theories run fast and furious on that particular.
I'm sure. Whatever your favorite one is, that's going to
oh, yeah.
give you lots of
and now it's like, you know, and because it has remained anonymous, no one has ever claimed credit for this thing.
That's amazing.
Oh, the conspiracy theorists love it. It's the New World Order. It's the lizard people.
Oh, yeah.
Because the guy's name was Robert C. Christian. Then they're like R.C. Christian. That sounds like Rosicrucian. And that's
oh my God!
It's you know, like anything can be a little peephole into the world of conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
10. I wish they'd picked a different number.
I know, right? Do 11.
11 would have been amazing.
Really mess with everybody.
Yeah, that would have screwed up some people.
Yeah.
That would have.
The human obsession with 10, and it's all based, it's just because we got, like, how many fingers you got? I don't know. I got this many. Let's do one for each of my digits.
Let's base everything off of it.
Anyway, hey, we need to thank somebody's.
Yes, we do. We have our pantheon, Dan.
Yeah.
Our lords and saviors, our top donors. These are people who went to our website, Dan.
Yes.
ThankGodI'mAtheist.com and clicked on the support tab. And then
we need that.
They specifically chose to go to Patreon.
Yeah.
Where they then signed up for a level of support. Then all 7 of these people are tied for first place, essentially. And so we need to thank all of them.
Yeah.
Jash, Scott, Melissa, Dee, Hannah, Liz, and Judy. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to all of our supporters.
Blessed be they. They are our lords and saviors. Now, I will point out, the position's ripe for the taking.
Any one of these people could just have it.
Or someone else
easily
could jump in.
Yeah, and they know the amount.
Yeah, that's true.
All they have to do is like slightly raise it.
They could go in. They might. I don't know. Can other lords and saviors zap them for doing so? Anyway, our show doesn't run unless we have donors, and so we thank you guys so much for all of your help. And peace be with you. Amen.
Amen. Dan.
Yeah.
I was minding my own business yesterday.
Uh-oh.
Sitting on my couch and having to look up the address where I needed to send my tax check.
Oh.
And I opened up my phone, opened up the Googs.
Yeah. Oh.
And right at the top was a story about Notre Dame.
Yeah. Notre Dame.
Not Notre Dame. Notre Dame in Paris. And that's what the whole rest of my day was essentially about.
It was shocking.
It shocked the hell out of me.
It was really quite a gut punch.
Yeah.
To see that stunning architecture ablaze.
Yeah, I know.
It's one of those things. And what's funny is I commented to a friend of mine as we were discussing about it, and I said, I'm guessing that there are some atheists out there. There's somebody who's saying, oh, well, one less church.
Oh, God. I hope not. There is.
There probably are.
There are.
Yeah.
Sadly. Yeah.
But for those of us who appreciate architecture and history and art,
yeah,
it was quite horrifying to see that spire come down.
Yeah.
To see the video of the blaze, it was quite a thing. But there are some mixed feelings. You know what I mean? Like this is an edifice that is dedicated to grand lies.
Yeah.
That are painful and hurtful lies.
Yeah, but foundational lies of the West.
Yeah.
I mean, really?
That sounds like a book. The Foundational Lies of the West. It actually should be a book. That sounds like a really interesting historical work.
Yeah. No, I know, Dan. Like, it's, but I squared this circle a long time ago.
Sure.
I think. Because I absolutely love traveling throughout, Europe.
Yeah.
And for me, a big part of that is stepping into the local cathedral.
Oh,
Even
yeah.
if it's not an important cathedral,
sure,
it still it gives you a glimpse into that community, and
it does.
And yeah, okay, the artwork is generally it's all in the same theme, to say say the least.
Yeah.
But
it runs the gamut.
Yeah.
It can be stunning artwork.
Yeah.
It can be that dopey, like Jesus that lady repainted that she helped in Spain. It can be anything.
Yeah. But nonetheless, these grand old cathedrals, they were built to inspire. They were built to lift the senses.
Yeah.
Right? And they do.
They do.
They figured something out with those damned flying buttresses and giant stained glass windows that on a sunny day, if you're walking through one of those cathedrals when the light is hitting right, it takes your breath away, almost literally.
Well, and they go after all your senses. There are smells that are different, and there are sounds that are different.
Yeah.
It's a great, they do a really good job of creating a space that can be meditative, that can be reflective.
Yeah.
And we don't have many institutions in a modern sort of secular context that give us that.
No.
Give us a place to just duck into and look at some, something that inspires some awe, and take a moment to reflect.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's and so yeah, it was really shocking and sad. And of course, when I started watching, and I tuned to the major news networks,
sure,
in order to get the live feed essentially. But it was sort of clear at that moment, even though it turned out to be wrong. But there was a moment when it felt like the whole cathedral was a total loss.
Right.
Like the flames were so large, and so they were high and reaching high, and all along the length of the building.
Yeah, totally.
And it was like, this thing is gone.
It's exactly, right? This edifice.
And whatever they would rebuild would be, just a facsimile essentially.
Yeah,
And
if it actually collapsed, would they even bother? Why would they bother to rebuild it?
I think they would, though.
Do you?
They would build something there.
They would build something.
But,
I don't think they would rebuild that building, though.
I don't know. I think
Who knows?
the obsession with I absolutely think they probably would have. I mean, but that's an interesting thing, Dan. Like, because in the process of now, rebuilding what they have to rebuild,
Right.
which is the roof and the steeple and obviously all the stuff that inside that burned up and all the stained glass windows and all of that. But will they build the stuff that is being replaced, the ornamental stuff? Are they going to build it exactly the same?
Yeah.
Because it almost feels like you would be trying to skip over this event in the life of the building,
Right.
that happened in 2019.
Yeah.
When there was a massive fire that threatened the cathedral. Will they build the spire on top to be exactly the same, or will they decide let's have a contest?
Right. Let's find a way to honor the.
We'll have some stuff inside the building, pictures, and some sort of interpretive something or other that honors what was there.
Right.
But do we do it exactly the same? Like, or do we leave our mark? Do we leave the 21st century's mark on this 850-year-old building?
Right.
Right. I mean, who knows what they'll do?
Who does know? I remember. So I first saw the building as a child. I was there. My parents took me. I was in, I want to say, 4th grade.
Oh boy.
My parents took us, me and my sister, to Europe. And they didn't take us into Notre Dame because we were little, and I think at that point it was like toward the end of our trip, and we were fed up with buildings that we didn't give a fuck about as children.
And you'd proven that you were willing to throw that tantrum.
Yes, indeed. And also we were apparently enamored of some old lady who was feeding birds outside of it.
Oh, okay.
So we were just out there feeding birds. I do remember my mom pointing in a direction toward the cathedral and saying, "Do you see the flying buttresses? Look at the flying buttresses." And me being utterly confused because I'm looking all around the cathedral for something flying.
Right.
I was like, maybe witches or birds. I didn't know.
What is a buttress?
I know nothing about a buttress. And so I never did clue into what she was talking about.
Interesting. Okay, so that's the first time you encountered the building.
But the most recent time I encountered the building, the last time I went, was a few years back. And there's just it is this enormous, gorgeous, like the height of it. When you walk in, the majesty, the grandeur of it, like you don't even get that sense from the outside. You walk in and you feel the grandeur of this place, and it's stunning.
Yeah, I know.
And it's dark and brooding in this Gothic cathedral, in stark contrast to, like, for instance, St. Paul's Cathedral in London, which is so bright and airy inside, equally grand in scale, but but such a different experience to Notre Dame.
Huh. Yeah.
It's I mean, what's your experience going in there?
Well, let's see. I was in college. So it was a little while ago. Yeah. I remember the windows. I remember being struck by the windows, and I can't remember if it was a sunny day or whatnot, but I do remember they were beautiful. And we went in and did the whole little walk around thing. I don't have any like clear specific memories other than just that the rose window right at the entrance or above the entrance. I do remember it from the outside it was the first place I went after checking into the hostel.
Okay.
Because I was meeting up with friends who were already traveling, and I had sort of arrived and checked into the hostel, and I still had a couple hours, and I was like, well, I'm going to Notre Dame.
Sure.
So rode the subway, metro, got myself over there. and wandered around and kind of did my first little pass and take in of the whole thing.
Now,
And
how
then-
old were you?
Oh, I was in my 20s.
So fairly newly atheist at this point,
Yeah, yeah.
which is an interesting time to sort of check out a church.
I don't know. I never had any problem with that kind of stuff.
I don't think it's a problem, but it is interesting. It's interesting. I mean, and you were never Catholic, so
Right.
it wasn't a church that would have.
For me,
met.
it's a historic site.
Right.
That's what I love about them. I love the architecture, and I love the sort of the lofty goals that the architects of these buildings had,
Yeah.
and designers over generations. I mean, you can't say one architect, really.
That's true.
And I mean, the building started as the very base of the building is the start of a Romanesque cathedral.
Right.
And then they started developing these ideas as the decades passed. And then they built the first grand Gothic, cathedral, and sort of set the new trend. But anyway, but I remember, sort of first sight seeing it as I walked into that area. And then, 'cause there's like a little plaza area out front. And then, I must have seen it every single day that we were there in Paris, because I remember we did like a little night stroll, and I remember just sort of also then again just kind of passing by and in an evening and just being like, oh, hey, there it is again.
Yep.
And so it was like, yeah,
Which is funny because it's on an island in the Seine, so it's not like you don't necessarily feel that because there's several roads that lead onto
Right.
that island. But it's funny that you casually just sort of pass by it. But it's so central.
but you do.
It's
Yeah.
so much a part of the city.
If you're just walking along, the left bank,
Yeah.
you're gonna walk by it.
There it is. It is interesting. As an atheist, I talked earlier in the show about having gone to a mosque in India, and I've gone to, Hindu temples, and I've gone to, I've been to a lot of different places of worship around the world.
And none of them stuck.
Weird, right? You'd think it's some
One of them sooner or later,
something's
Dan.
going to get to me at some point.
That hard heart of yours.
I went to, I've been to a Zen Buddhist ceremony and stuff.
That's
and
not gonna stick.
None of it stuck. It's so weird. Anyway, but it is. You and I have talked about this before, but I really do think that it speaks to an interesting need in humanity, and I do wish, when I'm a secular billionaire, maybe I'll build some secular places of reflection and whatever.
Yeah.
That people can just sort of donate to, and just for the upkeep, and go and light a candle or some incense or something.
But it'd have to be a new language of inspiration.
Yeah, but but I would want it to draw on all of these other things.
Yeah, that's where you go wrong.
No,
No.
you got to give people a bridge.
It can be beautiful architecture. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
But
I want the height.
Light a candle? Did I hear that come out of your mouth?
Yeah, why not?
Oh,
People love candles. Candle light is pretty.
No.
You're just afraid that it'll burn down, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for
That's
trying
not
to
what caused
keep
that.
my temple safe.
No.
I won't call it a temple. I'll say that.
What would you call it, Dan?
I don't know. I don't know. Thing. It'll just be called the thing.
An edifice.
Yes, exactly.
An edufice.
Nope. Now you just ruined it. You just ruined the whole concept. I'm not doing it anymore. Anyway, we'd love to hear from you about your experiences as in different houses of worship. What have you ever been inspired? Have you been made to feel sick by them? Certainly, if you go into a Mormon ward house, there will be no inspiration. You will not feel that. Anyway, you can write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Indeed. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click on that like button.
And while on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge or request to join. It's a closed group. We'll let you in.
Yeah.
Also, check us out on Reddit, Twitter. Look for TGIA Atheist on both those platforms.
Yep. Speaking of the social media, thanks so much to Mackenzie for all of her hard work on the Facebook page. Thanks to Danny and Amy for being moderators at the Members Only Lounge.
And a big thanks goes out to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music and to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thank all of you for tuning in.
Bye-bye.